Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, the forbidden music for today is Jimi Hendrix again. Crosstown Traffic off of the classic Electric Ladyland album. This one is a big deal. Giant double album from back in the day. You notice it came out on reprise. This is what the label looks like for this version that I'm playing. Technically, that's Warner 7 reprise. So this is a pretty early record. Warner 7 Arts labeling, the green label Warner stuff is the one where it went from a Warner 7 green label to a Warner Brothers green label, and then it went to the Burbank green label in the 70s and so on. So the neat thing about this track is it's one of the Jimi Hendrix hits, and the way that this one rolls, you've got all the crazy 60s, like wild panning and everything going on. And at the same time, it just really balances well. There is also something neat to be observed about the drums, in that this has got one of those nice 60s kick drums. And the way it's being balanced is it's drums forward and then guitars are very prominent. And that bass is, of course, Noel Redding is a guitar player being cajoled into playing bass. And so he tends to play as if he wants to be seen as equally impressive to Jimi. And it is a bass amp tone. So this is one of your sort of denser tones. You don't have like a funk style articulation and clarity on it. But the neat thing about the bass amp sound, and I've got a bunch of plugins that do this kind of thing, combined with that 60s open bass drum sound, the kind that's really resonant, like whoom, is those sounds merge interestingly. And that is a possible choice that people don't remember about much these days, certainly for the last 20, 30 years. That's the whole thing, is anybody will tell you never to do this, and yet it can work. If you have, and I will make other videos showing off, those ones are reactable, so I could do those in the Patreon version. But I can easily show you a bunch of Creedence Clearwater Revival tracks where things like the snare drum and the guitars completely and totally merge and become the same sound. And this is a really effective trick. Here you will be hearing it in brief little snippets because we're doing ContentID here. Here you'll be hearing that in the kick drum merging and combining with the bass drum that's occupying pretty much the same space. And that means you don't really get to hear what the bass guitar, I should say, is doing as clearly, but it still works. You mustn't assume that you can only combine things like this in a way where you cut a hole in the bass drum so that the bass guitar can live, and then you cut a hole in the bass guitar so that everything has to be completely delineated out into little spaces and so on. You don't necessarily need to do that. Having things merge is a choice. And you'll hear some of that here. Things that merge are interesting. I'm going to tell you something that I observed, like driving to hear the terrifying news on my taxes and so on, driving into Brattleboro in order to go catch up with my tax preparer and find out all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I settled on when I was bouncing around listening to different things out of my collection, because I couldn't really settle on everything because I was too tense and wasn't satisfied with any of the music I was hearing just about, I hit upon Fleetwood Mac, Never Going Back Again. And that would suit. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll listen to that. And I should do a react on that one. Perhaps I will. If you ask, I'll do it. Because Everything in that track is double tracked. Everything in Never Going Back Again by Fleetwood Mac is double tracked. We're doing a react to Jimi. Jimi was a great guitar player. But I'll repeat, and Jimi would appreciate this fully. He'd know what this was about. Lindsey Buckingham and Fleetwood Mac, Never Going Back Again. Re-listen to it sometime. Or I'll do a react on it for the patrons. And then if you were one of the high-tier patrons, you'll hear it for yourself off of the vinyl record. It is dead obvious if you know what you're listening for. The vocals are double-tracked. The guitar is double-tracked. That's how good he is. You can't tell. You can't tell that is two acoustic guitars playing exactly the same thing. And it is. If you have a good enough quality of the recording, it becomes completely obvious. Guitar magic, man. I'm looking forward to doing more guitar type things in this coming year because I've been moving in the direction of being able to play music again. And I'm feeling like I'm going to have to go really hard in this coming year just to keep my head above water, which I'm comfortable with. I feel like I'm going to be able to do that. I have enough cool things coming out. And it's kind of exciting. And I like working hard and doing stuff. So I'll definitely be blowing your minds. But I also think I can burn off some steam, like tracking rock and roll music or who knows what I do. But coming up with something that sits properly in this modern age of almost every genre you can think of attempting to get replaced by AI. I'm pretty sure I can do stuff where it will not be possible to get there with AI. I'm pretty sure I can make technical choices and musical choices where that simply will not be possible. And it'll be night and day different, but it'll be really hard to put your finger on exactly why. And yeah, for an example of the kinds of things where you will have a very tough time getting AI to just spit out. Well, I mean, I think, which was it? Sony, Suno, something like that. One of the AI things. I think it was a video extrapolation one. Recently went offline. And there's every reason to think that the music extrapolation ones are also... and the thing is, like the public services, there's every reason for record labels to take that stuff off. But then local copies of things? And yet, you will not be able to get that stuff to correctly put out the kinds of sound intensities that you're going to hear little snippets of off of Crosstown Traffic, or the virtuosity of Lindsey Buckingham that I was just telling you about. So it's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a year of coming up with ways for humans to excel. And anything that I can do along those lines to help, I will do so. And it's just going to be really interesting. So without any further ado, here is Jimi Hendrix Experience, Crosstown Traffic, kinda sorta, because this is the forbidden music. YouTube will not let you listen to this all the way through. But I can show you the sounds in there, and that's kind of what I want to draw attention to. Check it out.
When you know all the time, a girl is a. It's alright. You don't. You just want me to. You just get through to you. not the only soul. Got tracks all across your back.